You're not watching porn because you're horny. You're watching porn because you feel lonely. So, 3 or 4 years ago, I remember I was stuck in a cycle that I couldn't explain and that I didn't know how to get out of. I'd relapse, and then I'd feel shame and guilt, and I'd tell myself that I wouldn't ever do it again. And then 48 hours later, I would do the exact same thing. And I thought I just needed more willpower. I thought I just needed more discipline, right? Because I watched those no-fap videos on the internet, and they all told me, you're not disciplined enough. You need to have more willpower. You need to take cold showers, and you need to do all this stuff to quit. None of that worked for me. I tried all that stuff. I tried like doing the push-ups when you feel horny or whatever the hell these guys say, and it didn't work. And so what I'm about to share is the truth about why I actually watched porn that nobody ever told me, that I only figured out a couple of years later looking back. So after I would come home from school, and this was in like middle school, high school times, and if you've grown up in the American school system, you know, like you go to middle school, you go to high school for like 8 hours every single day, right? You take classes from, let's say, like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., till around maybe 2, 3 p.m. That's 8 straight hours just full of classes, right? Bro, when I look back on that, I'm like, what the actual hell was I doing? Or like, how did I even make it through the day of just 8 hours of straight classes? I have no idea. I mean, the school system's terrorism, anyways. But I'd come home from school at around maybe, let's say 3:15, and I'd be so tired. I'd be so unbelievably tired of just 8 hours of classes. The teacher's saying something that I don't even understand. They're giving me homework that I don't even want to do. And I'd come home and I'd feel exhausted. So I'd go upstairs, I'd go to my room, I'd throw my bag down near my bed, and then I'd sit on my computer chair and then just open up my phone immediately and then just start doom scrolling. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. And I did this because the stress of the environment that I was living in was way too much. During that time, I also had an abusive father, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally abusive. And so when you're living in that type of environment, you kind of need something to take the edge off. You kind of need something to use as basically an escape vehicle. And so I'd be doom scrolling reels, and then eventually I'd find, let's say, a hot Instagram model or something that would trigger me, right? I'd get up, I'd go to the bathroom, and in our bathroom there was like a little chair that you could use that you could sit on top of. I don't know why we had a chair in the bathroom. And I would sit on that chair, and I'd load up my porn site of choice, and I'd relapse. And I remember even as I was watching it, I would feel regret. You know what I mean? Like you're watching it, you're doing your thing, and typically what happens is you feel regret afterwards, right? You relapse, you finish whatever, and then the regret starts coming. Then you feel the shame, then you feel the guilt. For me, it wasn't like that. For me, yes, it was like that for a period of time, but as I started to watch it more and more and more, I started to feel the shame and the guilt whilst I was watching porn. Think about that. You're supposed to be doing the thing that might be like the highlight of your day, the thing that you can't stop thinking about every single day, every moment of the day. And you feel shame whilst you watch it. You feel guilty whilst you watch it, not even after you watch it, whilst you watch it. And so I'd go in my bathroom, I'd sit on that chair, and I'd relapse. And I remember like a voice inside my head literally saying to myself, like, why are you doing this? Like, you promised that you wouldn't do it. You promised that you wouldn't do this again. Right? And I did it anyway. Every single time. And so, I'm sitting there, phone in one hand. On the other hand is like the mess that I've created. And And I'm sitting there and I'm staring at the ceiling. And I'm just contemplating, like, why am I doing this? And I remember getting up, cleaning everything, cleaning up the mess that I made, and looking in the mirror. And what did I see? I saw somebody with eye bags. I saw like a frail individual. I was really, really, really skinny at the time. And I couldn't remember the last time that I actually felt something real. Because at that point, when you watch porn so much, when you watch it every single day, multiple times a day, it starts to lose how good that it feels. Right? Because the first time that you watch, I remember the first time that I saw porn, I was like, wow, this is crazy. I didn't even know what it was at the time. But I remember looking at it and being like, wow, this is crazy. This is sick, right? I remember getting this like rush of feelings and emotions and things like this. But fast forward a couple years later, when you're watching porn every single day, you look at it, you look at like one of the most disgusting things that you've ever seen on freaking Pornhub.com, right? You're looking at it and you're like, yeah, it looks nice, I guess, right? And then you start to watch more and more and more weird videos. You start to watch, like, your flavor of porn gets more and more disgusting the more you watch it. And that cycle of me coming home from school, feeling stressed about all the things that was going on in my life, about school, about what was happening in the house, and then me going to the bathroom and relapsing, that happened every single day, multiple times a day, for years. And I wanted to quit so bad. I remember going throughout my day and it would literally consume my mind. Like, I would just be sitting in school and, like, randomly I just get the urge to watch it. And it was all I could think about. It was all I could think about for genuinely like a couple of hours per day. Right? And it would peak and then fall. And then it would peak again right afterwards. And it consumed a lot of my thoughts and it consumed a lot of like my mental space. And I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit so bad. I knew it was destroying my life. I knew it wasn't like aligned with the person that I wanted to become, right? It was causing me depression. It was causing me anxiety. Like, I couldn't feel things anymore because of it. Like, I struggled to feel things. And I wanted to quit so bad. And yet, when the urge came, all of that would go out the window. All of it. Because the urge was so, so incredibly strong. I said in the beginning of the video that you don't watch porn because you're horny. You watch it because you're lonely. What I mean by this is, for me, growing up in that household where I was being abused, growing up in that household where you're basically kind of on 24/7. Right? Like, if you've ever grown up in a tough household, it's like when you come home and your abuser, your father, your mother, whoever, when they're in the house, you kind of got to stay vigilant. You know what I mean? It's like you got to know where they are at all times. You got to know like what they're doing. You got to know like if you're going to get beaten that day, right? And so your fight or flight system is on 24/7. That, combined with the lack of love that I didn't receive, is the perfect breeding ground for a porn addict. Because not only do we want to run towards something that we want to run away from something that we fear. So, what did I fear? Well, I feared, obviously, my father's judgment. I feared my father's wrath. And I feared something else that was a little bit deeper. I feared the emptiness being exposed. Because every single time I would watch porn and then I would relapse, I would feel this subtle, not so subtle emptiness Like there's a void that I'm trying to fill, but I just can't. That I'm using porn to fill, but it's not working, right? Because I'm constantly craving more. I'm constantly striving for more. And I was afraid of that getting exposed when I quit porn. That's what I was trying to run away from. And not only those two things, but I was trying to run towards something that I wanted that I didn't get, which was the consistent and safe love that was lacking that was a thing that the environment in my house lacked. And when I watched it for a few minutes, I actually, in some weird messed up way, I felt seen and I felt heard and I felt desired for the first time in basically my entire life. Right? Quitting porn meant losing that. Because for a kid who was told his entire life that he wasn't worthy of love, that there was something wrong with him, to lose the one thing in his life that actually gave him that safe love and that validated that, like, hey, he is worthy of love. There's nothing necessarily wrong with him, right? To lose that thing for me was too much. And so for me, quitting wasn't just stopping a habit. Quitting for me was like letting go of a place that made me feel like I was enough for once. And I remember after relapsing, right, again, I would feel hollow, I'd feel empty, like something had been taken away from me. And to fill that gap again, I used porn, right? And I used it multiple times a day for years. And so if you're listening to this and if you're resonating with my message, you're not weak, you're not broken, you're not any of this type of stuff. You're just in pain. You're lonely. You want somebody to see you and to love you. And you're trying to find a place to get that. Because maybe you aren't getting it from your real life. Maybe you don't have a girlfriend. Maybe your family was abusive like mine. Maybe you don't have a good family environment. And you went looking for love where you could find it. Right? Because at the end of the day, as humans, we need to feel loved. We need to feel like we're appreciated and seen at the end. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just being human. And so the action step that I would give you is, before you watch porn, just write down what you're feeling in that moment. Like, what are you actually feeling? Not just bored, right? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of us watch porn because we're bored. But if you're listening to this and this message resonated with you, go a little bit deeper. What are you feeling? Lonely? Depressed? Maybe stressed from life? Maybe exhausted? Maybe numb? And just write it down. Just write down whatever you're feeling. And you don't have to judge it, right? Because I don't think we should judge our feelings, because our feelings are there for a reason, right? They're just information signals. They're just emotional signals. And so that emotion, that is the real issue that we have to solve. That is a real issue that we have to fix. And porn is just the answer that you found for that issue, right? It's the temporary fix that will fill that hole temporarily. But after you relapse and after you look in the mirror as you're cleaning up, that hole will get exposed again. The emptiness will get exposed again. If you found this video was helpful for you and you want to go more in depth into actually how to quit porn, and you might feel lonely, you might feel like nobody understands what you're going through, you might feel like you can't talk to anybody about this, and maybe you don't know what to do. Maybe you've looked on the internet, maybe you've tried so many things, and none of them work for you. I'm offering a free 30-day reset for you. And it's completely free, and it's completely structured, and it's going to be tailored specifically towards you so that you don't feel alone, and so that you actually know the tactical steps that you need to do to quit porn, personalized from you, from somebody who went from relapsing twice, 3 times a day, to now not having watched porn for over 4 years. And so if you're interested in any of that stuff, you can go and you can check out the description down below. Take care, brother.